Welcome everybody. Thank you for making it to our meeting this month. We're going to get started here. We appreciate you being able to spend your afternoon with us. Feel free to tell a friend about our group. Invite them to a future meeting. We're going to be talking more about that in a little bit as well.
My name is Ray Brady, and the question is simple. When I transfer pictures from my regular computer, the metadata, basically what I care about is the actual date of the actual picture, does it transfer over to the external hard drive?
Yeah, metadata should copy over.
It should, but it doesn't.
Okay. So your regular computer, I'm guessing, is not a Mac, it's a PC?
No, it's a Mac.
It is a Mac.
It's
Okay.
a big one.
Okay, so how did you export that photo?
I just drop and drag.
From just the image on the window?
Well, it has a file, and I opened it up, and I just highlighted everything and dragged it over to the external record.
That's why you're not getting anything. By doing it that way, all you're doing is moving over the preview images that are in, say, iPhoto or in Photos. So let's say you pull up your pictures, you highlight the ones you want, and you drag it to the desktop. You are not getting your original pictures nor your metadata. At that point, all you're doing is getting the low-res preview images. So what you want to do is everything except drag it to the desktop. So find what you want, highlight it, and then up under File, choose Export. When you export and you tell it where to export, say the hard drive, the flash drive, or the desktop, you then get your original pictures with all the metadata.
So the key here is to run it through the circuitous route of export to get it there.
Yes.
Because that was designed specifically for that, was supposed to run.
Well, that was so you could get your metadata. If you didn't care about your metadata, keep doing it the way you're doing it.
I'm not the only one that's asking this question.
No.
Because I got a friend of mine, and she has grandkids.
Okay.
And she'll take pictures, and she'd like to retain all that information for historical value.
Sure.
Therefore, she's always upset about the fact that she's trying to transfer stuff over to either thumb drive, hard drive. We both have almost identical systems.
Okay.
So this is for me.
Yeah. Well, now you can look like a very brilliant person when you explain to her, and then she's going to say, why do I have to take this extra step? And then you can say, because you are saving these precious memories.
She knows she wants to save it. She just doesn't know why it's happening this way.
Now you can explain it to her.
Yes, sir. I thank you very much.
Not a problem. And maybe you could bring her along next month.
Unfortunately, this is family time for us.
Okay.
So she can't.
All right.
And I love the family.
Okay. Thank you very much for the question.
Will that take a lot away from your presentation if you show how that worked on the screen?
To do the export?
Yeah.
Yes.
If it will, don't worry about it.
Yes, today it would.
Okay. All right, so perhaps maybe another time.
Yes.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yes.
You just drag and drop the file of the information you transfer, correct? Metadata.
Are we talking about moving it into iPhotos or Photos or moving it out?
If you just drag it, say, from wherever your pictures are, drag the actual file, say, to the desktop, then all of the information, all the metadata should transfer right to the desktop.
If you're grabbing it from where the originals live, yes, that'll bring the metadata over, but Apple decided to lock down the system a long time ago to prevent people from digging into the system. And then, oh, they moved it instead of copied it. And then they threw it away thinking it was just a copy. And now their pictures are gone.
So the bottom line is, when in doubt, export, don't drop it, right?
Yeah, export is your friend. It really is.
Can I make a question? Are you using Photos? Because depending on the software you're using, depending on the software you're using, the answer to that is different. So I'm assuming that you're all using photos. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because isn't there a distinct difference between your photos being stored in iPhoto in that library and your photos being in the pictures directory of your users directory?
No. The photos that are stored in your iPhoto library or your Photos library, depending on what version of the operating system you're using, your originals live in there. However, that library is encrypted. So you can't just double click it and open it up. And the reason behind it was what I explained, to prevent somebody from going to the originals folder, copying pictures, but actually moving pictures and accidentally deleting them. That was the theory behind why they set it up that way and locked it down. Years ago, you could just open that up. There is a way to go in and do it from that encrypted library, but I will tell you how to do it if you really want to know, but I will not take any blame or responsibility if you do it wrong. So who wants to know?
Can I add to that?
Sure?
Depending on the file format you're using as well, that will determine whether or not that metadata goes with that file. If you are working with a digital negative file, that metadata is embedded in that file, and no matter where you copy that file to, that metadata will go with it. You don't have to worry about exporting it anywhere.
And that's how it's supposed to work.
Why is there such a big deal about what's up? Why is there such a big deal about what software you're using to store the pictures? Let's say I've got pictures, I went to Alaska, I have a bunch of pictures, probably close to 1,000, maybe a little more, and they're sitting on a thumb drive. And that would mean that I would have to take it and use the export process and bring it to the hard drive.
That step, no. But go ahead and finish.
To retain the metadata. I mean, we want to retain the metadata because it was a major vacation,
Sure.
okay?
So that metadata that's on that flash drive,
Yeah.
if that metadata came over with the pictures from the SD card and the camera, and then was moved onto the flash drive, you should be able to take that metadata and just, for the consumer level, take those images, just drag it into Photos or iPhoto, whatever you're using, and it should copy in and bring that metadata with it. If that metadata was not brought over to the flash drive, it's gone forever.
Okay, well, that's the key, I realize, but the point I'm making is we're talking about software, where it lives.
Sure.
And in many cases, things like this don't exist in software. It just sits in some sort of a file or a thumb drive, and it doesn't live there. We are not working with we're not, sometimes if I need to adjust a picture, I'll bring it into the software, maybe do some adjustments.
Right.
But other than that, it just exists on its own accord.
It can, yes, you're right. It can just live in your pictures folder, in your user account.
And didn't utilize the export process, even though it just sits on a files, could send it somewhere else.
I think I did not understand your original question. So your pictures that are in the pictures folder, that photograph is in your pictures folder.
Yes.
There are different ways to manage that picture. On the consumer level, you are dealing with iPhoto or Photos. On a higher level, you're dealing, say, with a program like Lightroom. But if you're just keeping the pictures essentially in a shoebox in your pictures folder, as long as the metadata came with it into there, you're good. If it didn't, then there was something about where it came from.
So we have to go back to the original.
Quite, not possibly, oh, well, quite possibly. So if the picture that you have on the thumb drive, you have 10 pictures that are your favorite from your Alaska trip. If those 10 pictures were moved onto the flash drive, but the method that they were copied to that flash drive did not include the metadata, then you need to go back to the original source, which would be, an SD card, and get the data from there. So,
All right. I just have one follow, one follow.
sure.
When I was in Australia, I had this with me as well as my
Okay,
as well as my Nikon. And I took a lot of pictures with this.
right,
Now, if I want to dump this to the big computer,
right.
you know how that works. Will I lose the metadata off of this?
No, unless you have location services turned off for your camera on the phone, because then it won't copy it. Okay, all right, then you should be good, and that should bring it right over with you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, are you saying that if location services is turned off, you lose all metadata?
So some people will turn off location services for the camera app on the phone, and if you do that, it's not keeping like location data.
It's not keeping location.
It should keep the date, but that's it. But some people want more metadata.
I think it keeps the date and the camera that was used and the particulars, but location is off.
This is on a phone that we're talking, an iPhone. That's what he was saying.
Okay,
So that's what I'm referring to.
all right.
So, because some people will, when the iPod Touch got the camera, a lot of parents, their kids were taking pictures with it. And a lot of parents didn't want that metadata because they saw in Good Morning America, this is how people track you down to where you live because, oh, the kids post it up online and somebody gets that picture and they dig in for the metadata to find their house so they can steal their children. Is there a shred of truth to that? Yes. But that's usually what makes urban myths really good stories, because there is a shred of truth to it. So, Brian?
Metadata stays with the image no matter what. It consists of normally the date, the time, the f-stop, shutter speed, all of that kind of data is the metadata of the image. You don't lose that. What he's apparently talking about is getting additional metadata because he's using his iPhone, which would add GPS data. That is in there also.
Right, but
It never goes away, no matter how many different times or ways that you transfer that raw image. It never leaves.
It depends. If you have a piece of software that doesn't honor that and says, oh, you want to copy photo A to place B, I'm going to strip all that metadata out before I copy it.
and that's what the preview does, because the preview is so it can load up faster. It doesn't bring metadata with it. It ties it to the original, so you can find that metadata. But if someone just opens, say, Photos, highlights 3 pictures, and drags it to the desktop, they're going to get 3 low-res images, not their original images, without any metadata. Because the metadata lives on the originals, not in the previews. And that's just so those images can pop up faster on the screen. That's why they're stripped out. So, okay. Ken?
Along with that line,
Get the mic. Thanks, Ken.
along with that line, I don't use those programs to store my photos. I basically take my camera, I put them into a folder on my hard drive, and that's all I do. So this whole issue of removing metadata, that wouldn't relate to that.
No, you just have a very large shoebox on your computer, and you're just putting all the pictures in there. And so what you put in is what you can take back out.
And then I just drag it out, and there's no issue on that.
Shouldn't be any at all.
Okay, just wanted to double check.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
What is the safest way to send photos from my photo albums to relatives without all that checking on my address?
Okay, so are we talking a handful of pictures or a couple thousand pictures?
No, not 1,000, just a
Okay.
few for the.
So like the last family reunion kind of thing. You've got multiple ways to do that. The easiest way I always suggest to people is take your pictures, make an album in whatever program you're using. Put those pictures in that album. Then select the album, export it, and you, depending on the size of it, you can burn it to a CD, you can burn it to a DVD, or you can put it on a flash drive and then send that item to the other people in the family. And that nowadays, people are, you'll have like 50 or 100 pictures from a wedding or something, and you might have a few videos. So a CD might not be big enough to hold it. A DVD could. A flash drive definitely should be able to. And then you can send that to them. They can then copy the data from that to their computer.
Well, excuse me, what I have been doing though is when I go into the photos, find something I want, I send it. I mean,
Well-
it's, you know, share it.
Right, but that's a one at a time or a multiple at a time. If you're dealing with,
Sometimes 3, and then-
yeah, but if you're trying to send 25 pictures, it's gonna bog down,
Yeah, I know.
and it's gonna give you a little hard time.
Dave,
Yes,
one other alternative, and I've done it a lot, set up a folder on Dropbox and share the address.
Oh, yeah.
mhm,
We did this a couple of years ago. It was compiling video for a friend's father's memorial service. And the family is scattered all over the country. And we gave them the address to this folder. Everybody was able to drop their photos in that. We were able to put the finished product back in, and everybody had their copy of
and that's a great way to go.
it.
That's another alternative,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not everybody has Dropbox.
But everybody can get it because it's free.
Free.
Oh, yeah, okay, you're right.
Right, so 2 gigs of data, that's a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
You know, it's not your entire computer, but it's a lot of pictures. MacGroup uses Dropbox for the video that we do during the meeting every month. And then I convert it to a little smaller size and send it off. So that way it can be put up online. Sheeta does a fantastic job with that. And I upgraded from the 2 gigabyte plan because early on I made the mistake of, oh, this video that I took is 14 gigs. I need to buy more. So I spent the $99 and upgraded to a terabyte of storage on there. But now that I've been taught how to convert the files down to a smaller manageable size, I could probably go back to the 2 gigabyte plan and go from there. And then when I'm done, delete the pictures off of there. Because I think I've used maybe 30 gigs out of that terabyte so far in the past year. So if I keep going the right way, they'll be a lot smaller size. So that's an option for you. And that other people would use streaming services like Flickr to put the pictures up there, but you're going to lose resolution. And if you want them to have the best quality picture, putting it to a disk or on a flash drive is probably the best way. It just requires a trip to the post office, so you can mail it off. Okay. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir.
In response to that answer, that you create a folder and people can drop pictures in there. Let's say somebody recently, like a funeral situation, and then one person on the receiving end can put together a little show or something with all the pictures sent in. That requires the cloud. So you're saying create that folder in the cloud?
Well, it requires the internet. So Dropbox is a cloud-based storage service.
Everybody has access to it, people who aren't on the cloud?
So Dropbox, as long as you have an internet connection, you can download the Dropbox program on your mobile device, on your computer.
I hate Dropbox.
Okay.
Dropbox.
All right, but it's an option. It's another option for moving things.
If I'm not mistaken, you can correct me, you don't necessarily have to have the Dropbox application. Don't they just send you the URL and view it in the browser, or is that?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to have Dropbox. As long as you have a browser, you go to the URL and you can be able to see all the content in it and never have to load the application on your machine.
okay. Well, that's even easier then. Okay. Any other questions?
No, I was just going to say on Dropbox, somebody has to be the author of that program.
That's true.
Right, and then they send out invites.
Yep.
So if you have a family member that's working on your funeral, wedding, they could be the author, send you the invite, you can come in and add, they give you editing rights, or you, depends on how you work. And you can have the opportunity to manipulate the files or view.
Sure. So that means there's one smart person in every family,
Right.
and that smart person is the one that puts that together. And as you said, it's just a case you email out a link.
Correct, shared link.
Okay. And then when it's shared, then you can just open that link, drop in what you need to, and you're done. Okay. Mike?
Question on the iPhone.
Go ahead.
Yes.
My voice is loud enough?
It's gonna be loud enough now. Then we're going to that gentleman next.
Okay. On a computer, so you can select a series of files by shift clicking and then delete them,
Yes.
okay? Can you do that, a similar function on the iPhone with photos?
No.
That's it.
What you, in photos on the phone, if you pull up the album, you can tap select, and then you can start at the first one, and then just move your finger up the screen, and it'll highlight all of those. This is typically what we help people with when they say, oh, but I've deleted 300 photos. When did you delete them? Yesterday. Okay, and we will open up the Photos program on their iPad or on their iPhone. We will go to recently deleted, and we will see all those 300 pictures, because that's where they live for 30 days. So when people say, I've got no room left, and they threw away a bunch of stuff, they haven't really thrown it away. It's just in the trash. By going in there, tapping select, highlighting everything all at one time by just dragging the finger, you can then delete it, and it says, are you sure? And you delete it, and they're gone instantly. That's it.
But if you're in photos,
If you're just in the Photos program itself,
can't do it.
I am not aware of an easy way to do it like that. Yes?
I'm looking at it right now. If you use the select command,
Right?
then do the check marks on the photos you want to delete,
Right?
and then hit the trash can.
Okay, and that's in just the plain photos, not in the albums?
I don't know that.
Okay. Well, if it lets you do that, then that's a great thing that just came out.
Okay,
Okay? All right. Thank you.
This gentleman has a question
photos.
or an announcement.
An announcement.
Sorry, I haven't been here the last 2 times, and I've been sick for about 6 weeks. We have some RoboFest events coming up.
Fantastic.
For about mid-season, if anybody is interested. Next Tuesday is Michigan Robotics Day at U of M. Some of our teams will be there, Building 18 on the North Campus. Then Saturday, April 22nd, West Bloomfield High School over on Orchard Lake Road, we have a competition. Saturday, April 22nd, if you can't make it to that one, there's one in Canton at Gallimore Elementary School on Shelburne Road. Monday, April 24th in the evening at U of B Jesuit High School. Friday, April 28th is at Emerson School. And then our big finale here in Michigan, the Michigan Championship is May 12th, a Friday, and May 13th, a Saturday, at Lawrence Tech's Fieldhouse,
Oh,
which isn't too far from here.
okay.
if you're really into this, the World Championship this year is in St. Pete Beach, Florida. And that's on June the 3rd, Saturday.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just leave this back. If anybody wants to come over and look at the addresses of any of these big doings.
There's something else you can do too. If you will email that to us or post it on the MacGroup PBS in the announcement section, it'll be good to have it out there.
Yep.
Got another question?
And on a personal note, go Lake Orion Dragons and their robotics team, because they just took first place. All right. That was really good. Thank you for all the questions. Let's take a little trip back in time. I just want to give a little bit of history to understand the journey that iCloud has brought us to. A simple show of hands. Who has been using an Apple product for, say, less than 5 years? Less than 10 years? Less than 15? Less than 20? More than 20? Okay, cool. All right. So, I could have, but then it would have got us there too quick. So, all the iterations that Apple has used to finally get to iCloud started with iTools. iTools was introduced at Macworld San Francisco on January 5th, 2000. Yeah, 17 years ago. .Mac, and I'm just going to do this for my own amusement. How many people still have a .Mac account? Oh, okay, cool. .Mac was introduced at Macworld, New York in July of 2002. Mobile Me was introduced at the WWDC convention on June 9th, 2008. I remember this quite well, and not for good. Apple referred to the rollout as not our finest moment. If you were one of the people that moved into Mobile Me at that time, you'll probably be familiar with the fact that Steve Jobs was reportedly credited for telling the Mobile Me staff that day that they should be ashamed, and so should their families. If things could fall down all at once, the day the Mobile Me launched was that day. It was just a horrific day for millions of people. So, a short 3 years later, iCloud was introduced at WWDC on June 11th, 2011, with Mobile Me being completely discontinued on June 30th, 2012. A lot of people probably remember getting emails saying, move your pictures, move your files, get it all out of here. Because when they turned the lights off, that was it. And they warned people for just over a year that you need to get this stuff backed up. And I remember July 1st, a large number of people coming into work. My documents are gone. My pictures are gone that they had up in Mobile Me. And there was no way they were getting them back because all the servers that had them on there were all shut down on the 30th. So it was one of those situations where they warned people. They were warning people 6 months ahead, 3 months ahead, a month ahead, and then weekly. And there were people that, I got this email on the 29th saying I need to copy all my stuff, and they didn't. So that sort of shows you the evolution of where this cloud-based service was coming from. It's not something that's new. This has been around now 17 years at Apple. So, with that being said, these are the features that I'm going to tackle today about iCloud. I think these 5 basic features are probably the most useful for the majority of people. Time permitting, we may be able to talk about other iCloud features as well. So just keep that in mind. If you have a question about one of the topics that I don't get into, please save it, because we do want to know about it so everyone else can share with it.
Did you set up recording?
I'm sorry?
Did you set up recording?
I did. Thank you.
I asked because I didn't, so I was presenting.
I have learned. Okay. Backup. Backup in my mind is probably, no, it definitely is hands down the best feature that iCloud can offer. This allows the user to save data in a set it and forget it type of situation, which makes it a no-brainer for most of the people that we know, and sometimes for ourselves. When you set up a new iPhone or an iPad, if you sign in with your Apple ID, and hopefully you do, backup is enabled by default. Typically, iCloud would create a new backup once a day, and depending on the battery level of your device, and as long as it's connected to Wi-Fi, this shouldn't be an issue. My backups typically show up as, 1:32 in the morning, 2:15 in the morning. That's normally when they kick in. And that's usually because I'm not using my phone or my iPad. I've got it charging, or the battery's well over 50%, and typically I am sleeping at that point in time. The backups are encrypted for your safety, and you can further encrypt them by using two-step verification, which is a whole nother can of worms that we're going to talk about in a future meeting, because I have very strong opinions, good and bad, about two-step verification. So we will talk about that in the future. You can also manually create a new backup by opening up your device, going to settings, scroll down to iCloud, scroll down to backup, and tapping backup now. As long as you are on Wi-Fi, it will start a backup for you right then and there. If you have upgraded to 10.3.1, you would go into settings, and at the top of that screen, you now see your name. And if you tap on your name, you can then go to iCloud, choose iCloud Backup, and then tap Backup Now. I was putting this presentation together when 10.3 came out, and realized I need to add this to it, because if you are on the latest version of the operating system, this is a new way to get to the iCloud settings. Another backup method for your iOS devices is iTunes on your computer. You would connect your device to your computer via the charging cable. After it mounts in iTunes, and iTunes typically should launch when you plug in a phone or an iPad to your computer. After it mounts and shows up, one of the options you have after you select the device in iTunes is to have it auto-sync or not to auto-sync. There's a checkbox for that. And that is completely your personal preference on how you want it to work. The disadvantage of auto-sync is if you add if you have music on your device from your iTunes library and you've added new music, it will take that music and try and put it on. If you're running low on space, it can stall out on you. So managing it correctly is definitely a good thing to do. You can also choose to encrypt your backup in iTunes. If you are using your, say, iPhone and Apple Watch for health reasons, I found out that if you do not encrypt the backup in iTunes, it does not save the health data. So if the health data is important to you and you want to keep it, I highly recommend that you encrypt your backup via iTunes that way, so you don't lose that data. When you encrypt it, it's going to have you create a password. Don't forget the password. Because if you forget the password and you have to restore your device, you do not get to bring your health data back, or any data at that point, because you will be locked out of it. So again, if you encrypt, which makes sense for people that are very health conscious and want to keep track of all that data, make sure you have your password someplace and make sure you hang on to it. All right. Yes.
A little comment about the automatic backup, which I found out from experience. Yes, if you go to sleep early and it's plugged in at 1 a.m., it will back up. If you, like me sometimes, and you pass by 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and you're still up, and you have not plugged in that phone, it will not back up until 1 a.m. the next day.
Correct.
And I found that out by accident because I lost some data. I thought it had backed up, and I went to restore that data, and it had not backed up.
Right. So the phone knows when it hasn't been used, and my understanding is it's typically a 2-hour window that when the phone realizes nothing's been done to it in 2 hours, then the system will do we can probably make a backup now, because this is where we're normally scheduled, so let's go ahead and make that backup. So that's an option there. After you sync to iTunes, let's say in the iTunes program you click the button that says backup now to make an extra backup. When it's finished, that's great, but it stops the iCloud backup. So you have to remember to go back and make sure that backup is enabled on the device, because then it will not make any backups for you, because it now thinks that you're doing it manually through the computer rather than through iCloud. Because it'll even warn you and say, hey, you're going to make this backup, it's going to turn off iCloud backup. Are you okay with that? And if you say yes, you can back up to your computer and have it live there. Okay?
I had to restore my iPad actually I was restoring to a newer iPad I got.
Okay.
And I had done it through, I've got iTunes running on my HP laptop.
Okay.
Before I did the restore, I put it to the cloud, and then just to be sure, I put it to the hard drive of the HP.
Sure.
Okay, double redundancy or whatever, I'm safe.
Smart move.
Went and restored from iCloud. I think in my iTunes library, every album that had more than 7 or 8 songs, I only got 3, but yet it listed that the other 3 were there, probably stuck in the iCloud somewhere. But and I found this out when I went and took an airplane trip with no Wi-Fi, and I'm wanting to play the album, and all of a sudden it's looking for the internet.
Right.
I went back later on, restored from my laptop, no problem.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of literally on.
Okay, so good. That leads me to my next one. Greg? Joe.
If you're still up and you're doing things on your computer and your time machine kicks in during this time window, is that going to create any kind of conflict?
We're not talking about Time Machine at this point. We're talking about iCloud backups.
Right, I understand that, but I'm saying, if my time machine kicks in while I'm on the computer and my iPad is plugged in, is that creating a conflict?
No, because iCloud's not backing up your computer. iCloud is backing up your phone or your iPad. It's not backing up the computer. iCloud syncs with the computer, and there's something we'll talk about a little further that's going to sort of go along with where you're at with this. But no, that has nothing to do with it at this point in time. Ken?
Does the phone have to be plugged in to 110 recharging battery to do it, or if the phone has got a reasonable charge, it will automatically back up to iCloud?
Apple recommends that you have it plugged in, but they also say that the battery only has to be above 50% for it to do the backup. So when you use iCloud to back up, say, an iPhone for the very first time, it can take a while. It can take 30 minutes, an hour. I saw one person wait 3 hours for their backups to occur. And we found out why, because she had 10,000 contacts. She was on the board of like 4 different charities and had all these contacts, in addition to a ton of pictures and videos that she was also backing up. She's the first person I've ever met that has the 1 terabyte iCloud storage plan. Most people, you get that 5 gigs for free. Okay, cool. You can go to 50 gigs for 99 cents a month. You can go to 200 gigs for $2.99 a month. Okay. The statement I would love to say to customers that say, I'm not spending 99 cents a month for backup. That's stupid. Why would I waste my money? The statement I want to offer them is, if you lost all your pictures, would you be willing to pay Apple $12? And when you think about it, it's like $12 a year, and you've got all that storage. I mean, anybody that argues with that, they deserve what they get. So.
I guess I'm sitting here thinking, so you said just now, we're not backing up the computer. I was unclear as to what we're backing up. So when you say iCloud, can you, for the dummies sitting here, maybe I'm the only one?
You're not.
Tell me what we're backing up and why we're backing it up.
Okay. So, what you are backing up with iCloud is anything that's on your phone that you have selected to back up. Anything on your iPad that you have selected to back up. Okay? That's where that 5 gigs of storage kicks in. 5 gigs of storage is plenty for people that don't take pictures with their phone. Because it's backing up your contacts, it's backing up your calendars, it's backing up your notes, it's backing up your Safari settings and bookmarks. It's backing up your reminders. I mean, there's all these things that you can choose to have it back up. If it is an Apple email, such as a .Mac, a MobileMe, or an iCloud address, it's also making sure that your mail is syncing and being not necessarily saved, because that's on a different server, but it's handshaking with that server. You can use iCloud for your pictures too. The people that take a lot of pictures can go through that 5 gigs in a heartbeat. And that's where that 99 cents a month comes in as a fantastic option, because more than once I've helped somebody with an 8 gig or a 16 gig phone that had 0 bytes free. But they had 3,500 pictures on it. And they're like, how can I get more room to take more pictures?
That's helpful, but if you're backing up to your computer,
You don't need that.
then you don't need iCloud.
If you're backing up to your computer, you're halfway there. And let me, this is my reason. If I'm backing up to the computer, on my phone, I'm going to turn off photos in iCloud. Because I'm counting on the fact that I'm hopefully smart enough to plug my phone into my computer on a weekly basis and put those pictures on the computer. I'm counting on the fact that I'm smart enough to take the videos I shot and move those onto the computer. Okay. That way I can live with the 5 gigs for free, because notes, contacts, calendars, that's nothing. That's super tiny. 5 gigs last you forever. But most people aren't that smart. Most people will falsely rely on the fact that iCloud is backing up everything they have on their mobile device. Also, on their computer. It is heartbreaking when someone comes up to you and says, my computer won't turn on. And you realize they have a bad hard drive. Or you realize their operating system is so corrupted, the only option is to erase the computer. But I have all my pictures on here. That brings us back to this word. Why aren't you backing up?
But then, fifth question.
Right?
Time machine would have your data backed up.
If you had Time Machine running,
Yes.
80% of the people I deal with don't use Time Machine.
So we could look at this as all redundant systems. This
Sure,
works for you.
to a degree, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
But the bulk of people that you know, that I know, that everyone else here knows, don't back up. iCloud is one way to get them to back up. And you would be surprised at the number of people that their iPhone is their computer. They don't have any other devices. They got an iPhone through their carrier, and so now they're all happy that they have this smart device that does everything a computer can do for them. Time Machine is not an option, because they don't have a computer to back it up to. iCloud is their option. So,
That's very helpful.
okay, great.
For contacts and for calendars, what are the upper limits for file size?
I'll be honest with you, I thought it was 5,000 contacts, but after that one woman, it was 10,000. Honestly, she was like 10,800.
I'm at 6,000.
Yeah, but I mean, it was incredibly slow because it's going through all that data. And while a contact is, file size wise, is very tiny, it adds up. I mean, you get enough dust bunnies under the couch, it looks like something's living there. So,
Going back
Yep.
to calendars.
yep,
My calendar goes back to when I had a Palm Pilot, and I imported that data into my calendar.
okay.
So my calendar goes back,
So your calendar goes back 15 years.
oh,
Easy. Yeah, okay.
so it's fairly large.
That would be an understatement. Yeah, I would say yours is not fairly large, it's gigantic. If you've got that much data from that far back, yeah.
And it's not just dates. In the dates, there's data also.
Right,
So it is very large, so it has to be
Right.
backed up to the computer. I can't do it till.
yeah. Now, some people will have their calendar set up where they will have it auto-delete things after a certain timeline. You're not, apparently, if you're keeping all that data still. So yeah, it will start to fill up. So,
Dave,
yes.
But you're saying that, that type of data, in the 5 gigabytes,
Mm-hmm.
easily, you're not topping out. exclude pictures, how much is all the contacts, how much, what's the quantity? I mean.
So, on an average person,
Yeah.
okay, so an average person, say you've got 500 contacts. Say you've got a handful of notes, and you're managing, I don't know, 6 or 7 calendars. You're in the megabytes.
It's like single megabyte.
Maybe a couple hundred megabyte in there. Yeah, I mean, so that's where the 5 gigs will last you a long time. You won't have a limit at that point. It's adding the other things, such as photos or videos, that it just fills it right up.
No photos and videos, do I want to exclude that from the
Okay.
equation? What about iTunes? I mean,
iTunes does not count. So what iCloud does is iCloud keeps track of what you have, but it doesn't back it up because that's already, purchased content is already off to the side. They don't include that in iCloud. So you're not backing that up. Music that you put on your phone or your iPad from your computer, that is not backed up in iCloud. So if you've imported your 10 favorite CDs on your phone, and you have to get a new phone or you have to erase your phone, you can bring all your other data back, but you will need to sync it to your computer to bring those songs back. Because iCloud will not do that, and my understanding is it's a copyright licensing issue because somebody wants to get paid. So you paid somebody for buying the CD, and in your, as they say, usage rights, you've put it into there, you have to do it that way again.
But once you've paid for it, you can download it again.
Yes, so once you purchase something through iTunes, whether it's music, a movie, a TV show, or an app, it is available for you to download as long as it is still on the store. I had this issue with my wife for whatever reason. There was a Tina Turner album that I got her, and one song disappeared off the store for 6 months. And it was gone. I couldn't re-download it because it wasn't there. When it came back, it came right back on. So it was just one of those weird things. So the people that manage video content or music content or even apps, they can pull it anytime they want and you don't get a refund. If it's still on your device, you can keep using it, but if you have to restore your device, that content is unavailable and there's no refunds on it. Yes?
Let's talk about that for a second. I'm going to take a little deeper into what you were just talking about. I've got like half of my 50 gigabytes filled.
Okay.
On my iCloud. And the question is, how secure is it with respect to privacy? With respect to potentially Apple decides that they don't like that picture, so they may take it over. Or maybe they don't like whatever. I'm not saying that they're doing it, but...
Sure. That's a legitimate question. Yeah. So, whatever you have up in iCloud is as secure as the password you created for it. That's it, flat out. Your password is the key. If you have an easy password, 1, shame on you. 2, you get what you got coming. So a few years ago when there was the so-called iCloud breach, it was not a breach. These people had their data, their contacts, their pictures, their calendars, all compromised. The Jack, tiger pitcher, tall guy, dating a model. Verlander. Okay. Justin Verlander's girlfriend, who's a model. Yeah. There was some, we'll say, indelicate pictures that she had up in her cloud of her and him. Yeah, so she was one of the people who was part of this. Apple found out that it wasn't a breach. Her password was the name of her dog. Okay, so how did they figure out the name of her dog? Social media. They saw her posting pictures of her dog on Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and all this, and oh, I love this dog, and so is the best dog in the world. Somebody went, Fido, hey, look, I'm in. And had full access to everything she had. And that's where two-step verification comes in now to prevent that from happening.
Can I respond?
Yes.
Okay, I agree with you as far as you set up your own device as far as locking it up by password.
Right.
But is there a backdoor that only Apple has?
No. So the San Bernardino shooters, they had iPhones. FBI came to Apple and said, we want you to unlock them. And Apple's like, we can't. Oh no, there's gotta be a way. Nope. We set this up where there isn't a way. You need their password. If you don't have their password, you're not getting in.
Okay, that's fine.
Now, hang on. Part 2 of your first question. You asked, what if Apple wants to delete a photo that you have on your iCloud that they don't like? They can't. The only thing they can do is delete your whole account. Because your account is encrypted. They don't have a way to get into it. There is no back door. And as I tell a lot of people, this is not CSI. This is not the movies. There's not somebody that's going, and they're in. That doesn't happen.
Okay, let me continue with what you mentioned.
Please.
Regarding what happened at San Bernardino.
Right.
And I also learned through that process of watching television that if you take an iPhone and keep trying for 10 times, it'll erase the iPhone.
Well, depending on how you set it up, typically it will brick it and tell you you have to wait 5 minutes. And when you put it in wrong again, you have to wait 15 minutes. When you put it in wrong again, you have to wait an hour, 4 hours, 8 hours, 24 hours. I've had somebody come in with an iPod Touch that said 11 million minutes. This was owned by a child who got locked out of it a few months ago and kept trying. Yeah, that was the weirdest. How do you get to 11 million minutes?
But the point I want to make is this.
Yes.
Is it also using the same framework for the iCloud? Is someone able to keep trying for, let's say, 10 or 12 times, and all of a sudden it goes boom?
3.
3? And then what?
Makes you reset your password. And to reset your password, you have to either A, answer 2 of your 3 security questions, in addition to putting in your birth date correctly, or you can have an email link sent to you, which means you then need to be at one of your computers to receive that email, or know the password for that email account, which is your Apple ID. So there's multiple ways where there are roadblocks put up to stop the casual person from getting in. The more determined person, okay. The hardcore person probably has most of that information already. And typically because whatever password you're using is not that secure.
All right, and then...
Excuse me, can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
So, in what you're talking about with backup for iCloud, you know, it's it's essentially there to back up what's on the phone and the iPad, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so what else can I do with iCloud?
Okay, let's get on to that. We're gonna move forward because I see we're gonna be running out of time. All right, sounds good. Okay, next up, restore. As the gentleman back there said, when he did a restore, not everything showed up. When he did it through the computer, it did. Okay. Restoring from an iCloud backup is a very simple two-step process that takes a long time. Just say that right now. If it goes fast for you, congratulations. It never does. After you restore the iOS software via iTunes, or if you purchase a new device, you'll be presented with a few options for bringing back your data. The phone, in this case, it'll give you the option to restore from an iCloud backup, restore from an iTunes backup, set up as new. Okay, there's a fourth one that escapes me at the moment, but pretty much it's the same thing of you're not bringing anything back over. Restoring from iCloud backup takes the longest and requires you to be connected to Wi-Fi and to stay on Wi-Fi until it completes. Now, you cannot restore a phone or an iPad under cellular data, and this is due to the fact that when this was all put together and Apple was ironing out the bugs in this, all the carriers said, no, these people are going to be moving back 4 gigs of data. That's going to kill their monthly plan of 1 gig a month in a heartbeat. And it's going to be too much load on our infrastructure. Our systems can't handle it. Yeah, through and through. And this is what all the major carriers told Apple. AT&T, then Verizon, then Sprint, then T-Mobile. And Apple has said, you know what? Cool, not a problem. You have to do it under Wi-Fi. And so that worked out really well. The typical restore of data from your iCloud backup to your phone is based on 2 separate steps. Step 1 brings back contacts, calendars, notes, basic settings for like email, things like that. It will bring back your information for, say, iMessages or FaceTime as well. Brings all that back down from the cloud, puts it back on. That typically is a 5 to 10 minute process, and that is for the average person with 200 to say maybe 800 contacts. If you have more contacts on your device than that, it will take longer. As I said, the 10,000 woman, it was 3 hours. It just forever. Now that's step 1. Step 1 should finish up in 5 to 10 minutes for the average person. Step 2 is your photos, videos, apps, any paid purchases such as through iTunes like music or movies, TV shows. That part can take up to an hour for the average person. If you have hundreds of apps on your phone, you know, like 8 screens full of apps inside of folders, yeah, it's going to take longer than that. The dilemma with step 2, because when someone comes into an Apple store, the goal is get them up with a working phone, and then they can go home, connect to their Wi-Fi, and finish step 2 at that point, instead of hanging out in the Apple store for another hour or more. Also, because chances are, if you're at home, your Wi-Fi network is going to be a whole lot faster with just you on it than you in a store with 100 other people trying to do the same thing all at the same time. So that's a fantastic option. The easiest way and the fastest way to put your stuff back on is like what he had suggested, He connected his device back to his computer, everything went back on. I'm gonna guess it probably took 10 to 15 minutes all told to bring everything back on. Because in iTunes, the way to back up, there's a button in there that says back up now. However long it takes to make that backup is how long it takes to put it back on your device. So if you get in the habit of, if you know that you need to go in and get your phone replaced or you're gonna upgrade, I highly recommend make a backup in iTunes before you get that replacement, and then just stop back home, plug it in. You'll be up and going in under a half an hour, and you won't be frustrated waiting for it, because let's say someone calls you and says, you're needed for whatever reason to meet me at Olive Garden because the Never End of Pasta Bowl is going on today, or you're needed at the hospital for something really critical. If you leave while it is restoring from that backup and you leave your Wi-Fi, it stops right then and there. When you get back home, it doesn't always pick back up where you left off. And if that's the case, then you need to erase the phone and start the process all over again, which is frustrating for some people. So my advice is, if you have to go somewhere, if you can, leave the phone at home. Pretend you're back in 1976 and the phone with the 15-foot cord is still on the wall in the kitchen, and your phone can sit next to it while you're gone and nobody can reach you. It's really nice sometimes not being able to be contacted. So, Brian.
If I go to the Apple Store and buy a new iPhone, they don't transfer the data off my old one?
That is correct, Brian. If you go to the Apple Store today, buy a brand new phone, they cannot transfer your data from your old phone to your new phone. If you have an iCloud backup, they will assist you in getting it started. If you bring in your computer with you, they will assist you in moving your data from your computer to there. They will not copy your data. And the reason behind that is in 2000, late 2008, when the iPhone 3G came out, somebody very famous had their data from their phone copied to a Genius Bar floater machine, because back then, Apple did that. The next customer was not so famous, and when his phone was restored, he got the famous person's backup. Because of that, you're looking at a guy that walked into work one morning at 8:30 with a very panicked manager looking at him saying, I need every Genius Bar computer turned off, wrapped up, boxed up, and FedExed out of here by 9 a.m. Well, what are we going to do about computers for the bar? Well, you're going to be imaging brand new computers, so they'll be ready to go when we open at 10. It was a busy morning. They did this with every Apple store in the US and Canada. We had 6 machines in our store at the time. Some stores only had like 3 or 4 machines. Some of the big flagship stores had 30 or 40 machines. And this was a legal said, box them up, ship them here right now. Because what was supposed to happen is when you help the customer back up their data and then put it back on their new device or their restored device, you were to go into iTunes, Preferences, Devices, and delete the backup. Well, back then, it was like walking into McDonald's and saying, can you hold the onions on my Big Mac? Because they're trying to push out as many as they can as quickly as possible. So Apple will not, since then, move your data. They have no way to copy your data from your one device to the new device. They used to have a machine called a Celebrate that would allow them to move your contacts over, and that was it. But those machines were notoriously unreliable, and that's not an option anymore in most of the stores I am aware of. All the machines that we use at the Genius Bar are locked down, so it prevents us from copying any data from a customer's mobile device or even from a computer. So some of us that know what target disk mode is, so you can get in and try and copy data, that's not available anymore. So if you do go to an Apple store, they are expecting you to have your own backup, either via iCloud or on your computer, to move your information to your new device. So I hope that answers that question for you. Okay, fantastic. Okay, moving on. One of the foundations of iCloud was the ability to update and sync contacts seamlessly from one device to another, including multiple devices. Whether you are creating a contact for the first time or updating someone else's info, the ease of having to enter it only once is the greatest time saver to those of us who need to sync across various devices. The info that you enter can be as sparse or as informative as you wish. The more info you add to a contact, this will allow other programs on your computer to access it. What programs, you ask? How about FaceTime, messages, calendars, notes? It's wonderful that you can have all this stuff synced together. And that was the goal of what iCloud was going to do. So, I created, obviously, a false contact in my contacts list. So, Johnny Appleseed, who should be a member of MacGroup Detroit, but isn't yet, but we're working on that. Johnny Appleseed, if you look, you can see the address, lives in a nice place. You can see his birthday, you can see his phone number, and you can see an email address. And if you hover over any of those things, say the phone number, if you move the cursor over that, you'll get a little phone number symbol that'll pop up. And if you click it, it'll call him. If I go to FaceTime and click that, it'll FaceTime him and it'll open up the program. If I go to where the email address is, it will open up the mail program and start an email to him. Really surprisingly useful time saver for a lot of things. So instead of let me copy his email address, let me open mail, let me click on write an email, let me paste it in, boom, just like that, puts it right in for you. Nice time saver. The next thing about this that I really like is calendars. So calendars, by adding someone's birthday to their contact, it will sync with your calendar to remind you. By default, it will alert you at 9 a.m. the day before their birthday. If you're like me and you need more heads up for making sure you get a card or a birthday present, or at the bare minimum, send him an email saying, hey, happy birthday, you can change that. And the settings will allow you to change that.
Dave,
So,
question.
yes, Mike?
We go back to the previous image on the screen.
Yes.
Companies like Facebook and LinkedIn ask if they can use your contacts.
Yes, they do.
How far down can they go? Can they get into the notes?
I don't know. I believe that what they're looking for is the name, email address, they look for birthdays, And I believe they're also looking for phone numbers and addresses. I don't know if they go into notes. That is not anything I can answer. Can anyone else answer that? Okay,
If they can, and you put personal information in there,
correct.
they can get it.
There is that possibility. So that's why when Facebook asks, can we have access to your address book? Nope. Nope. That's why I don't have, on my iPad or my phone, I do not have Facebook Messenger. Because they require to get that information, and I don't want to hand off that information to them.
And now Facebook is sending out emails to people saying that you have a Facebook Messenger note. And you have
Yes.
to click on that to access it.
And it makes you open the app or download the app to do it. I get those and I just ignore them. I look at Facebook Messenger through the computer because it's still available through there without accessing everything else. So that's a good question. We should look into that. I'll put it on the BBS if we find an answer.
Just a note, Facebook bought the app WhatsApp. I used to
Right.
use it all the time. And initially, it did not require that it got into your contacts. The new version that they just created expires the old one completely, and you are forced, if you want to keep using WhatsApp, to give up your contacts. So it's been deleted off of mine.
Okay. So, because as we all know, getting someone's email address is money to somebody. Hands down, all day long. Yes?
One zippy feature of contacts is that if you have, say, an email from a business associate, and he includes, say, a phone number that you don't have, like his mobile number, it shows up in contacts.
Right.
Right down at the bottom. I find that quite helpful.
I agree with you. That is very helpful to find that information based off the email program. Most of the programs on your computer, and now with iOS, they work hand in hand. The goal is to make your life easier and make you more efficient. Speaking of this, so birthdays are considered an all-day event. If we look at January 24th, we see a red icon, which is a little present, and a name. If we click on that, it'll provide us with more information. The best thing I found about this, it tells me what birthday they're celebrating. I don't have to do the math. He's going to be 33? Oh, that's fantastic. That's nice and easy. And that there is also where you can go back to contacts and you can change your setting for when it alerts you of when that birthday is. Calendar subscriptions also allow you to have an event added to all your devices by accepting it just once. And from the person or the group, you have the subscription set up. So when my wife says, I've got a hair salon appointment on this date, I've got a dentist appointment on this date, I only have to click OK once under invites in the calendar app, whether it's on my phone, my iPad, or my computer, and it saves them to all of them. Updates the calendar, and life is really good. I think that's a very convenient feature. Next up, iCloud Drive. iCloud Drive brings back some of the functionality that people had with iSync. iSync was part of .Mac, which was essentially the real first cloud-based storage solution for putting the file up someplace and being able to get it. It, like Dropbox, would allow you to share an invite to somebody to give them access to that file or folder, depending on what you wanted, and you could even password protect it. So it would require effort for somebody to get to that data that you have up there. The iWork documents have been part of the iCloud for the last couple of years, and the nice thing about that, for me, When I put this presentation together, I start on my iPad, because typically I'm doing it at lunch. And so I take my iPad and I start building it up. And then when I get home, I can sit down at the computer, and if I want to add things in, like I'm searching for pictures that I want to add into it, I found it's easier to do it from the computer rather than from the iPad. I know you can do it from here yet, I just haven't had the time to figure it out and go from there. So while the iPad, Apple is trying to convince people, hey, it's every bit as good as a computer, sometimes better, I still come back to the computer every now and then. I will admit, my iPad probably does 80% of my computing needs, where this is doing under 20%, and I'm seeing that I can do some things even on my phone. So computers will never go away, they're just going to evolve. The very first iMac, the 128, everybody thought that was the best thing in the world. My watch does circles around that original computer. I have an iPod Nano that was the predecessor to the watch. That does circles around it. Yes, it's sort of limited on what it can do, but there are things that you can do with it that are just amazing. And I always thought to myself, I have a 16 gig watch. Yeah, it's an iPod, but it's also a watch. And there's other things I can add to it. And that just brought us right up into this. It's amazing how you see the progression of all those. Okay, now with iCloud Drive, with the release of Mac OS 10.12 Sierra, there was, in my mind, another not our finest moment issue. When people upgraded to Sierra, after the computer rebooted and they moved forward, one of the windows asked, do you want to move your desktop files and documents to the cloud? A number of people went, oh yeah, click, 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 and did that. And then did, where's my stuff? It's all gone. And for some people, it's good because it allows you to have access to everything because now it's in the cloud. And again, the cloud is as secure as your password is. So if you make it a secure password, you shouldn't have any headaches. But a lot of people like their stuff on their computer. I'm on the fence with this. I like some of my stuff on the computer, some of the stuff I don't mind in the cloud. You can go into system preferences on the computer, go to iCloud, and under iCloud Drive you can click on options, and if you did it by accident, you can turn it off and bring it back down to the computer. So if you did it by accident, your stuff isn't gone, it's just not visible on the computer at the moment. And when you open the Finder window, the desktop and the documents folder is gone. People, they were here, where are they? They're gone. But if you turn that feature off, they will return. So if you haven't upgraded to Sierra, keep that in mind when you do upgrade. When the last update for Sierra came out, it asked again, do you want to move your stuff up to the cloud? So whenever you're doing an upgrade or an update on anything higher than 10.12, pay attention to what you're reading before you hit yes.
Dave,
Yes.
does it obscure the information on your computer when you send it up to the cloud?
It makes it invisible.
It makes it invisible, but it's still on the computer.
Not easy to get to. Technically,
Once you tell it, no, I don't want to go up to the cloud.
if you say no, it will live on the computer and no problems, no headaches.
Back immediately.
Right.
It doesn't have to be downloaded.
Yeah, if you choose no right up front, it won't move it to there. If you choose yes, it'll push it up. And then when you bring it back down, like I said, if you change your mind, it'll take a little while to bring everything back down, depending on how much you have. It will also tell you, hey, you don't have enough iCloud space to back everything up. So, I have 3 C's when it comes to iCloud Drive. Convenient? Potentially. Confusing? Possibly. Concerning? Perhaps. So you're the only one that will know, is iCloud Drive meant for me? Does it fit the way I want to compute? And that will be your call to make, whether you want your data all up in the cloud or whether it stays local on your machine. If you have it up in the cloud, that does give you the ability to access it from your phone or your iPad. So there are pros and cons. It is your decision on what it is for you, because everyone's going to be different with it. And as always, your data is only as safe as your password. The harder the password, the safer your data is. And then